In this video, we dive into the fascinating world of guilloché dies. Today, you will find out how and why these artistic patterns turn handmade timepieces into true masterpieces. Guilloché was and is a process for decorating a metal surface with geometric patterns. When I first held this teardrop Vacheron Constantin from the 1950s in my hands, I just thought, what the hell? What a fantastic and finely crafted dial. All these different textures and details. And what they do with the incoming light is incredible. I just wondered how many hours and days of hard work must have gone into this dial. Then I remembered how little I actually know about this dial technique. Can you imagine that? Everything you see here on the dial is 100% handmade. Every engraving, every curve, every notch. Just imagine how highly concentrated and precise a guillocher must have worked. One wrong cut and all the hard work was for nothing. Unimaginable. Guilloché is also known as turning and is undoubtedly a craft in which fine and exceptionally detailed patterns are produced by hand-using tools. In this video from the Victoria and Albert YouTube channel, you can see exactly how this precise craft is performed. The artisan, a guillocheur, performs the process personally, turning the cranks of the tools to rotate and align the dial while pressing the dial with varying pressure against a cutter to cut it and determine the depth and consistency of the engravings. One of the oldest and best known methods was and still is the use of a rose engine lathe. This large and expensive machine consisted of a champ, essentially a disc that rotated around an axis and could be shaped into the desired geometric pattern using a cutting tool. Different effects are achieved by varying the pressure. In this process, precise lines are drawn from specific patterns. These patterns are precisely planned in advance by the guillocheur. This process is very time-consuming and requires the highest level of concentration. Even the slightest wobble of the hand ensures that the dial belongs to the bin. These engravings are very complex and can be executed in various designs, ranging from twisted and wavy patterns to straight line patterns, depending on whether they are executed with a so-called rose machine for wavy patterns or a straight cut machine for straight line patterns. Even this 18K yellow gold Patek Philippe from the 1970s also has a guilloché dial, also known as clou de Paris or hobnail texture. It's a guilloché design on the dial which consists of hollowed out lines that insect to form tiny pyramid shapes. As the French name indicates, clou de Paris, this shape is inspired by the clobbed streets of Paris. This pattern was adopted and made famous by Audemars Piguet, among others, with its famous royal oak. Nowadays, many guilloché dials are produced by medium-sized companies using CNC, computerized numerical control machines. This CNC process is of course much faster than manual guilloché, as pre-programmed software controls the production equipment without the need for human intervention. But watches with mass-produced engravings can quickly appear too perfect and cold, without the underlying imperfection of a guilloché engraver, which strangely contribute to the essence of a perfect guilloché dial. The craftsmanship of a guilloché artist who has spent days engraving a pattern by hand simply cannot be imitated by soulless machines. And a trained eye can clearly see the difference between machine and handwork. With such a complicated process, it's not hard to imagine that there are only a few professional guilloché artists left in the world today. and that dials made by hand are largely reserved for the upper ranks of watchmaking. In addition, the tools required for manual guilloché work are very rarely produced. And even today, the leading watch manufacturers still often work with vintage machines. But what is the difference between the original 16th century guilloché and that of today? The answer is almost none at all, at least as far as the basic principles are concerned. This technique was already used in the late Middle Ages, but mainly for decorative purposes and on softer materials such as wood and ivory. And this technique is still used today, and not just on watches. It can even be found on the tiniest objects of everyday life, such as banknotes. It was not until the late 18th century that guilloché was used for gold and silver and watchmaking, and it was none other than the historic watch company Breguet that first applied this type of art to a dial. They were the first to start guilloché engraving their pocket watches in the 1770s. Guilloché soon became synonymous with Breguet and still be found in many of the brand's high-quality watches today. Vacheron Constantin is another early manufacturer of guilloché dials for its pocket watches. Breguet and Vacheron have repeatedly produced guilloché dials throughout their history. As you can see from the finesse and attention to detail of our 36mm Vacheron, guilloché dials required dedication and, of course, mastery of the necessary tools. Today, the art of manual guilloché seems to be in danger of becoming extinct in contemporary watchmaking, but is fortunately still practiced by a few brands such as Audemars Piguet, Breguet, Vacheron Constantin, and Patek Philippe. So the next time you see a vintage watch with a guilloché pattern, it should be with the precision and care of this masterful and exclusive watchmaking art in mind. So what about you? Would you rather spend more money for a handcrafted dial or opt for the more affordable CNC process? I would be happy to read your opinions in the comments. So have a great day and hope to see you in our next video.